Welcome to today's lesson on adverbs. We're glad to have you, and hopefully by the end of this lesson you'll have a good idea of what adverbs do and also how to find them in a sentence. So let's get started. Alright, a couple things that we need to know about adverbs. Let's start with the definition. An adverb modifies or describes a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Now most people and often kids will confuse adverbs with adjectives. An adjective also modifies a word, but adjectives always modify nouns. An adverb will never modify a noun. Instead, what an adverb does is modify a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. The other thing that adverbs do, especially when they're modifying verbs, is they tell how, when, or where about the verb it modifies. When we see some example sentences, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about here. And then the last thing that's important to know is that an adverb that modifies a verb may appear in different positions in a sentence. Basically what that means is the adverb could come before the verb in the sentence, or it could come after the verb in the sentence. So you have to kind of be aware of that and be looking for it. All right, let's take a look at some sample sentences and so we can see exactly how these things work and what they look like. All right, in this first sample sentence, Joey diligently studies his grammar lessons. Our adverb is diligently. And the reason why diligently is the adverb in this sentence is because it modifies the verb studies. And it also, if we go back to our definition on the first slide, because remember, adverbs not only modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs, but they'll answer that question how, when, or where about the verb in a sentence. So in this case, how does Joey study? Joey studies diligently. So diligently is modifying the verb studies. All right, makes sense so far? All right, good. Let's take a look at another sentence. In this second sentence, often Joey earns good grades. Our adverb is often, and it is modifying the verb earns. So often Joey earns good grades, and in this case it's answering the question when. When does Joey earn good grades? And the answer to that is often. And so that's how often is modifying the verb earns. It's explaining or answering when Joey earns good grades, often. And as you can see, if we go back to number one, our adverb is diligently. Very common for adverbs to end in ly, and there's definitely hundreds, if not thousands, of adverbs that end in ly. So that's always a good clue. If you see a word that ends in ly, think of how, when, and where. Identify whether that word is modifying either a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Chances are it is. But not all adverbs end in ly, and often is an example. This is an adverb, and it does not end in ly. On the next slide, I'll give you a list of other adverbs like often that don't end in ly so that you can look for them and you're aware of which ones they are. All right, let's take a look at another sentence. And in this third sentence, Joey studies grammar downstairs. Our adverb in this sentence is downstairs. Okay, another adverb that does not end in ly. I'm just going to add this adv. And the reason why downstairs is the adverb in this sentence is because it's answering the question where, and it's modifying the verb studies. Where does Joe study? Joe studies downstairs. So there you have it, examples of adverbs that end in ly, adverbs that do not end in ly, like often and downstairs, and also the three different ways in which an adverb can modify a verb by answering the question how, when, or where about the verb. And our verbs in these sentences were studies, earns, and then studies again. All right, so hopefully beginning to understand what adverbs do and how to find them in a sentence. All right, these are adverbs that do not end with ly. It's just a small sample. There are more. This is not a complete list. All right, this is not all of the adverbs that don't end in ly, but I think these are probably the most common, the ones that you'll see most of the time. So if you can kind of remember these and be aware of them, it'll be a little bit easier to identify these in sentences that use them. So for example, you have soon, after, now, later. All right, those are good examples of adverbs that would answer the question when, when something happens. Hard, high, not, fast would answer the question, how something happens. Often, today, always, very, here, tomorrow. Got kind of a mix there. So those are examples of adverbs that do not end in ly. So do the best you can. Try to memorize some of those, and it definitely will help you. All right, now that we have a good overview of what adverbs do in a sentence, let's see if we can practice with some example sentences and find the adverb. So in our first sentence, in many ancient lands, people proudly grew. Long hair is a mark of honor. See if you can find what the adverb is in this sentence. Underline the adverb twice, and then draw an arrow to the word, whether it's a verb, adjective, or an adverb, that the adverb is modifying. All right, good. If you identified proudly as the adverb in this sentence, then you are correct. And the word that adverb, or proudly, is modifying is grew. All right, grew is a verb in this sentence. So it's answering that question, how. All right, how did they grow their long hair? They grew it proudly. But while we're with this sentence, let's take a look at another word, ancient and long. All right. Now, ancient is an adjective, and sometimes people confuse adjectives and adverbs. All right, but the reason why ancient is an adjective is because it's modifying lands, which is a noun. Long is also an adjective because it is modifying a noun as well, and that would be here. So there's a good example where you see an adjective modifying a noun, another adjective modifying a noun. Right? But what makes an adverb different is that it modifies either a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. In this sentence, it's modifying a verb. So if you kind of caught that, or if you understand that, then good job. All right, let's take a look at another sentence. All right, our next sentence reads, a very nice bowl of fruit sat on the table. Give you a couple of seconds, see if you can figure out what the adverb is in this sentence. All right, good. If you identified very as the adverb in this sentence, then you are correct. And very is an adverb because it is modifying nice, which is an adjective. And by the way, nice is an adjective because it's modifying bowl, which is a noun. So here's an example of an adverb modifying an adjective. Very nice bowl of fruit set on the table. All right, third sentence. Joey almost always turns off the light. See if you can find the adverb or adverbs in this sentence. All right, good. If you identified two adverbs, almost and always, then you are correct. And we'll explain in just a moment. Let me write down adverb and adverb here. But we'll start with always. Always is an adverb because it's modifying the verb turns. Almost is an adverb because it's modifying another adverb, which is always. So in this first sentence, we have an example of an adverb modifying a verb. In the second sentence, we have an example of an adverb modifying an adjective. And then in the third sentence, we have an example of an adverb modifying another adverb. So we've got a picture of what each of these three examples look like. So you have to be aware of this, and you have to kind of be on the lookout for adverbs modifying other adverbs. Most of the time, they're going to be placed right next to each other, just as almost and always are in this sentence. All right, let's try one more, and let's see how you do. The elderly woman strolled rather casually. See if you can identify any adverbs that are used in this sentence. Alright, good. We actually have two adverbs here, and if you identified both rather and casually, then you are correct. Okay. Now, why is casually an adverb? Well, it has that ly ending, so that's kind of a clue right there. But casually is modifying the verb strolled, and it's answering that question how. How did the elderly woman walk? She walked casually. Rather is an adverb because it's modifying the adverb casually. How casually did the woman walk? Rather casually. So there's a good example there. And let me just point out that elderly, and if you notice, it ends in ly, right? But elderly is an adjective, not an adverb. Why? Because it's modifying woman, and woman in this sentence is a noun. And remember, adverbs don't modify nouns, but adjectives do. Right? That's their job. Adjectives modify nouns. What kind of woman? An elderly woman. So there's an example where you have both an adjective and an adverb in the same sentence, but they do different things. Adjectives modify nouns, adverbs modify verbs, adjectives or other adverbs. There's no adverb modifying elderly here. Not every adjective, every verb, or for that matter, every adverb will have a word modifying it. So you just have to kind of look at each word in the sentence and see what it's doing. So hopefully this makes a little sense. We'll do some more practice on the next slide. All right, we'll do try to get 5 sentences in here, and we'll kind of make this a little bit of a quiz and see how you do. So your first sentence is, my shoes are old and somewhat faded. See if you can find what the adverb or adverbs are in this sentence. Just double underline them, and also identify what the word is that's being modified by the adverb. All right, good. Our adverb in this sentence is somewhat. Another adverb that does not end in ly, all right, but it's an adverb because it's modifying the adjective faded. Okay, faded is an adjective that's describing the shoes. All right, so there's an adverb that's modifying an adjective. You got that? Then good job. Let's keep moving. Next sentence, the walls were marked with totally black lines. All right, good. Our adverb in this sentence is totally, one of those kind of easy adverbs that end in ly. And this is an adverb that's modifying an adjective, black. All right, black is an adjective because it's modifying lines, which is a noun. All right, so totally is our adverb. If you got that right, then great job. Let's try another one. And number 3, we were surprised when he stopped his speech. See if you can identify any adverbs that are used in this sentence. All right, good. The adverb in this sentence, well, we have 2 actually. First is suddenly. Suddenly is an adverb because it's modifying the verb stopped, and it's answering that question how. All right. How did he stop his speech? He stopped it suddenly. But there's another adverb, and hopefully you caught it, and that would be so. So is an adverb because it's modifying the adverb suddenly, and it's also answering that same question of how. How suddenly did he stop his speech? So suddenly. So is an adverb as well. So if you got both of those, then great job, because this one was kind of tricky. And number 4, balance is extremely important when skateboarding. See if you can identify any adverbs in this sentence. All right, good. If you identified extremely, then you are correct. And it's always nice when adverbs end in ly. It makes it much easier for us to find them. And extremely is an adverb because it's modifying the adjective important. Okay. And last sentence, number 5. Hopefully you're doing well so far. Let's see how you do on this one. Another little tricky one. The surprise visit from my grampy was too good to believe. Again, just remember what adverbs do, right? They modify either a verb, an adjective, or another adverb, and they'll answer that question how, when, or where about the verb. So see if you can find any words that are doing any of those things in this sentence. Good luck. All right, good. The adverb in this sentence is to. Another adverb that doesn't end in ly, and the reason why it's an adverb is because it's modifying the adjective good. Okay? And just to review, surprise in this sentence is an adjective because it's modifying the noun visit. Okay? And to believe in this sentence is a verb. All right, so the only adverb here is to because it's modifying the adjective good. Okay? All right, so the whole point here is don't confuse adjectives with adverbs. Okay? And just as a review, adverbs will modify or describe a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. And they also answer that question how, when, or where. All right, so hopefully this has been helpful. Hope to see you again, and thanks for visiting.